While certain parts of Japan reel from rugby noise pollution, Tokyo's downtown backstreets remain pleasantly sleepy. Last night, they treated us to a unique sumo event at the Fukagawa Edo Museum, 3 kilometers from the sumo hall. There, in the small theatre, were we treated to reflections on the life and times of one of sumo's finest ever exponents, Yokozuna Taiho. Regardless of when you started watching sumo, I'm sure you've come across his name. Before Hakuho came along, he was the most successful Yokozuna ever, with 32 Emperor's Cups to his name. So heavily was he imprinted on the public conscience that it was said Japanese kids in the 60s were captivated by 3 things only: egg roll, the Yomiuri Giants, and Taiho. The man himself, we learned last night, disliked the comparison, claiming that whereas the Giants had won everything as a team, he'd done so individually. His views on egg roll are unknown, but what is certain is that his achievements amounted to the ultimate rags to riches story. The humble son of a Ukrainian father and Japanese mother, born in disputed territory, almost killed on the ocean crossing to Hokkaido, where he was raised in the remote countryside, and yet came to dominate his country's national sport. He was even given the prestigious People's Honor Award just weeks after his death in February 2013. His sumo achievements are laid out in the museum's Taiho Corner, up and running since August. Here, you can see replicas of all his top division trophies accompanied by a timeline of the key moments in his life and rarely seen photographs. The most thrilling exhibit is his actual top knot, just as it was when clipped from his head on October 2nd, 1971. But it's not just the exhibits that keep his spirit alive. It's the people in whose memories he resides, about 150 of whom turned up for last night's special seminar entitled The Taiho We Knew. The panelists were people who knew him extremely well. The current Otake Oyakata, ex-Taiho stable wrestler Dairyu, former NHK man Yoshiharu Ogata, who shared the commentary box with Taiho over several years, and Mieko Naya, youngest of Taiho's 3 daughters and mother to the current 3rd Division star, Naya. The picture they painted was that of Taiho as a strict perfectionist with precious little time for those who failed to understand him. Otake, playing for laughs, described him as a coach who was angry 99% of the time, exasperated with the failures of his students on the practice dohyo. But, Otake added, he would always end his tirades with the words, "Thank you, you know," as if expressing gratitude for their having listened to him. Otake said the power of the word "thank you" made him forget everything negative that preceded it. Mieko, meanwhile, recalled how the tension would heighten each time her father walked into a room. And Ogata recounted how he was taken to task over dinner for having introduced Taiho as a defensive fighter during the day's live show. "Why do you only show the videos after I became Yokozuna?" Taiho protested. "Show the ones when I was on my way up. You'll remember how offensive I was." The best story of the night came when Otake Oyakata was asked to describe an instance in which he had incurred Taiho's wrath. He took us back to September 1987, when he narrowly failed to secure a long overdue promotion to salaried level. At the post-tournament party, he overheard a stable supporter questioning his commitment in training, and, fueled by alcohol, screamed, "You've never watched me train in your life!" As slanging matches with moneyed supporters are almost unheard of in sumo, Coach Taiho was quick to step in. Despite mobility problems following his stroke in 1977, he still possessed a hefty right hook and applied it several times to Dairyu's face. The following morning, Dairyu, now unable to open his left eye, was summoned to his coach's living room where he expected to be dismissed. However, he was surprised to see Taiho smiling and sniggering into his newspaper. "You went too far last night, right?" Taiho said. "Regret what happened?" "Yes," whispered Otake. "Then what are you going to do about it? I hear you want to quit. Is that really the answer? Now?" Otake thought for a moment, as his coach expected him to do, and answered, "I'll stay and do my best." He not only fought his way up to Division 2 just 4 months later, but apologized to the supporter he had offended, and made a friend of him. We also got some interesting information on Mieko Naya's 4 sons, fathered by ex-husband Takatoriki. All 4 have the kanji character for fortune or happiness in their name, which was the first character of Taiho's real name, Koki. The oldest son, Yukio, is around 2 meters tall and currently in professional wrestling. His name was originally meant for Mieko herself. Her father was expecting her to be a boy. Second son, Takamori, is competing in the sumo team at Chuo University, where he appears to be studying law. Third son, Konosuke, needs no introduction. He's 3rd Division wrestler Naya. And whereas he's 6'2" and 175 kilos, his grandfather, although the same height, weighed only 94 kilos at the same stage in his career. Finally, fourth son, Kosei, is in his final year at Saitama Sakai High School, and, we learned last night, set to make his professional debut this November. He's about 6'1" and 140 kilos, and he recently competed in high school nationals. We wait with interest to see what ring name he will be given. Naya is evidently taken for the time being. And you're probably thinking, wouldn't the evening be complete with an appearance from Naya himself? Well, thank goodness the organizers thought likewise. Naya was seated at the back with 7 stablemates, listening to your coach talk about your stable's founder being an important sumo duty. Towards the end, he was called up on stage and nervously obliged. So determined to project the image of the tough-as-old-boots sumo wrestler that he politely declined the chair that was offered to him and elected to stand. His words were about as strained as you'd expect from someone with a prestigious surname sharing a stage with both his stablemaster and his mother while being watched intently by his mates. Did Taiho ever help him with his sumo? No, he never advised me on that, Naya replied. But he did come and watch me in the National Junior Championships once. The relevant video was then played. Would he henceforth enjoy competing with his younger brother, Kosei? He's no match for me yet, Naya smiled. Who would he consider to be his rival? Hoshoryu, he said after prompting. I want to fight him on a big stage, presumably the top division. And what was he aiming for in sumo? To be a wrestler who can perform at top division level, he said, abashedly eyeing his coach. But really, said Mr. Ogata, ever the journalist, what's your absolute final goal? We expected Naya to offer a polite platitude, as most wrestlers in his position would, but with a heavy breath, he told us, Yokozuna.